Street fighting and Israeli bombardment rocked Gaza's far southern Rafah a day after Israeli tanks rolled into the center of the city near the Egyptian border. The twin strikes blamed on Israel has claimed over 60 lives, but the U.S. says that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has not crossed the red line yet. Here's a report.
A week marked by severe violence in Gaza has captured global attention. A civil defense official from Gaza reports that an Israeli airstrike on a displacement camp west of Rafah killed at least 21 people on Tuesday. This follows an airstrike on Sunday which killed 45 people, igniting global condemnation. Israel has denied responsibility for the latest strike, while Israeli Prime Minister calls Sunday's attack a tragic mishap.
We heard this called a tragic mishap, a mistake. I guess the question is, what then to call the ferocious attacks that have killed thousands and thousands of children? How do we describe the actions that have pushed an entire population to starvation?
The United States has been among the countries urging Israel to refrain from a full-scale offensive into Rafah. But Washington says that Israel is yet to cross President Joe Biden's red lines.
We still don't believe that a major ground operation in Rafah is warranted. We still don't want to see the Israelis, as we say, smash into Rafah with large units over large pieces of territory. We still believe that, and we haven't seen that at this point. But we're going to be watching this, of course, very, very closely.
Israel's military operations have only intensified in blatant defiance of condemnations. Tanks and ground forces have mounted raids deep into Rafah's neighborhoods. Fierce street battles have raged as Hamas militants fight back with rockets and gunfire against the Israeli soldiers. Northern Gaza too has been punished severely, with tanks shelling residential areas and Israeli forces thrusting into the massive Jabalia refugee camp. On the other hand, South Africa seems poised to continue its push at the International Court of Justice. A request for the UN Security Council to intervene is also on the cards. Now, many Israelis too are openly criticizing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
I think that the Prime Minister is not just wrong. I think that he pushes it because of reasons which are not in line with what we consider to be the national interest and security interest of the State of Israel, and particularly not the interest of saving Israelis that are held by these murderers and killers, and we may lose them.
A steady stream of civilians has been fleeing Rafah, the new hotspot in the grueling war. UN says 1 million have fled the area. The big question is when and how the war will end. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
We earlier spoke to retired Colonel Rich Outzen from Washington, D.C. Outzen is a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council and the Jamestown Foundation, and this is what he had to say.
This White House is notorious, I would say, for its mismanagement of the concept of red lines and escalation dynamics. We've seen sort of red lines posited but not clearly identified or enforced with regards to Ukraine, certainly with regards to Iranian malign activity in the Red Sea and elsewhere, and with regards to Hamas. In this case, it's a red line posited with regards to an ally, not an enemy in Israel. So I think what we can infer is that the Biden administration is looking very carefully at domestic public opinion in the United States. And the red line really is anything that would inflame the left wing of the Democratic Party. And I think by that they mean something that gives the impression of indiscriminate force. So as long as the Israelis do what they need to do in terms of taking down Hamas, but avoid the appearance of indiscriminate force, I think that's the best that we can really say is a red line. Of course, a red line has value when it's big, bold, bright, and red so that everybody knows exactly what it is. So they've sort of failed the conceptual test here.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.